I'm here to do a monkey flip. Yo, I played this weekend at my locals, and I wanted to show you guys his profile because, you know, Zoo's dead and I had nothing really else to play. I'm still getting a couple cards for Sky Strikers because I'm going to try that deck this format. But I'm not totally convinced I'm going to play that yet. I'm thinking about it really strongly, but it's a blind going second deck, and I'm not a fan of those. I'm like the more control style, as you guys know. But I decided to play this, Altergeist. It's been like a minute since I profiled this on the channel, and I think it was probably not the most optimal build the last time I profiled it. But I just wanted to kind of go over my card choices and my matchups, just so you guys kind of know what was up and how my weekend went as far as competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Is concerned. But first, I would like to ask you guys, if you're not already, please subscribe and leave a comment down below talking about how much you hate Altergeist, because I know that's everyone's least favorite deck. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and I guess we'll get into it. So starting off with the monsters, of course, obligatory, the boy or the girl, I guess. 3 multi-faker. This card's busted beyond belief. If you draw this plus Imperm, you win the game. End of discussion. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. 3 copies of Mellowseek. Probably the best card in the entire deck, honestly. And because, well, the second best card in the deck. I'll get to the best card in the deck this weekend later on. But this card being able to send back row and triggering during damage steps so the opponent can't really respond is really, really strong. It was really OP against the Mystic Mind decks that I played. 3 Marionetter sets Protocol against my Salad matchup was like GG no re. The Disruption card to Silk, I mean, it's a bounce. Kunk rather, just attack negation and effect negation. It's a really good card. I didn't draw him a lot though, fortunately, of course. Oh, but Silk did love me though. I must say, Silk all weekend, the entire day, was just like, I'm just gonna open you every single game, and it started to get like really unironically aggravating after like the first 2 rounds of just like drawing Silk every game. Yeah, it was kind of cringe, but Conquery is good because he's really good at negating striker links, which can actually really, really matter because, you know, striker is back in the format now with 1 engage, so 3 Ash, just because it's like the most generic hand trap. I'm only playing 6 hand traps in the list. I wanted to play more, but like I figured it would be better to play like more board breaking cards like Torrential that I'm also playing. And you know, Torrential was okay, but yeah, 3 Ash, like the most generic hand trap. 3 Extravs, if you draw this, you're probably good to go. Just +1 in a simplified game state is just really, really strong. MVP card of the weekend was Personal Spoofing. In the Mystic Mind matchup, this card basically destroys their win con. Like, Mystic Mind does nothing to this deck because like every single time they activate Mystic Mind, you just shuffle whatever you have on board back in the deck, and then it's like, nice Mystic Mind, bro. You better have a field barrier or your win con is dead. Then we've got double Protocol and the 1 Manifestation. Protocol was really good in the Salamangreat matchup that I played. It was really, really strong. And then Manifestation is good for extension, I guess. Summoning Multi-Faker back with this is really good because you can just float into a Mellowseek and then link it off for a Hextia, which is really good. Then, of course, the God card, Imperm. I think I drew this like once. I drew the Imperm Faker combo like 1 time. And it was enough to win me the game, so obviously, you know. 3 Lost Wind. Didn't actually draw this card. Like, I think I drew it once and it was like dead, so I don't know. I honestly don't know how this card was because it didn't show up. Torrential Tribute. I tried to out Mystic Mine with this because I could just like normal summon an Altergeist into my Torrential and then flip my own Torrential. But the Mystic Mine homie had Solemn Judgment and stopped it. Speaking of Solemn Judgment, triple in the main board because this card is goated. Then we've got triple copies of Solemn Strike and 1 Imperial Order. Did not draw this card. Wish I had drawn. Well, I actually did, but it was in like one game only. I went first against my buddy on Salamangreat, and I opened with this plus a Judgment. And so I was like, this Judgment Faker Ash, and yeah, that just like immediately won me the game right there. For the extra deck, there's really standard stuff. We've got triple copies of Link Karibo, standard, triple copies of Hextia, standard. I made double Hextia on someone yesterday, and it was pretty good. 3 generic links, Phoenix, Unicorn, and Boral Sword. I never made Boral Sword because Faker locks you into Altergeist, and I didn't make Phoenix either, or Unicorn, because I was just able to out everything without like using anything else. Like I had Silk and Mellow Seek to get rid of everything. Then the Waking the Dragon targets, 3 Ultimate Falcon and 3 Last Warrior. I actually did end up summoning Ultimate Falcon, my last round opponent that was on Harpy Control, as I would call it. He summoned, I summoned this thing on him because he Harpy's Hunting Ground, one of my Waking the Dragons, and I just summoned this and started poking a bunch, which ended up winning me that game too. Now for the sideboard. This sideboard like wasn't okay. It was good and it wasn't good. Like, so certain cards were good and certain ones weren't. This wasn't. This was trash. D-Shifter. I expected to play a lot of. I predicted that I would be playing some dinosaurs, but I wasn't. Like everybody shifted off Dinosaur with Misket 1, which is understandable, but like I just thought there would be, still like 1 or 2 Dino players, but I don't know, everybody just switched off of that and is playing other stuff now. Actually, a lot of the Dino players switched to Mystic Mine, funny enough. Triple copies of Lancia, kind of same thing as Shifter. I thought people would be playing like Dino or Invoke. There was somebody playing Invoke there, but I didn't play against him, so I guess that was just, what it was. But yeah. This card, this fun and interactive card, yeah, I Mystic Mined my Salamangreat opponent, my good buddy, and he was very big sad, because Salad does literally nothing against Mystic Mine, like they can't play the game. This card with spoofing and like any Altergeist card is an FTK. Like it's an absolute FTK. You can literally just activate this going first, normal summon your Altergeist, set your spoofing, and then like wait for your opponent to summon something, and then you just like spoofing back your
Altergeist monster.
And because spoofing shuffles for cost, they can't even ash you. It's unbelievable. Like this card is like so absurd. And I played against it a lot this weekend. This deck actually, I played against this deck a lot, so that was a thing. So obviously I didn't side that in for that matchup, but I did side in this. Triple evenly. This actually resolved, and I won against a Mystic Mind player because of this card. Yeah, I mean this card's always going to be godly against macro decks. It's just the way it is. And then finally the 3 copies of Waking the Dragons to round out the side deck. So that's pretty much it. I will go over my rounds and just kind of talk about what my record was real quick, just nice and brief, because I don't want to spend too much time just going over things that, I can't get like too much into in one video. But basically my rounds were as follows. Round 1 was pure Mystic Mine, round 2 was Sky Striker, round 3 was Harpies, and round 4 was Salamangreat. The round 1 Mystic Mine went for, I think, almost the entirety. I think it actually went to time. But he ended up scooping game 3 because he just didn't have the outs to my board. I had like Hextia plus Multifaker plus Silk, and I just grinded him out with personal spoofing. I kept looping personal spoofing on him, and his Mystic Mines kept dying, and then eventually he just ran out of Mystic Mines and just didn't have a win con anymore. Sky Striker was a massive grind fest, but if I remember correctly, I 2-0'd him. It was really hard because Engage is at like 12 now because you have 3 Gagaris, you have 1 Engage that you can get off Shizuku. So, Engage is like at 5 now. So moving on from Sky Striker, obviously that deck is like really grindy, and so is Altergeist. But I guess I just outdrew him. There was one interaction that I remember having where I had a protocol and a strike. What I did was I activated Silk to bounce his striker link. He let it happen, and then he chained Ray in the graveyard, and then I activated protocol to negate it, and then he summoned Ray, and then he linked into, I think, Hayate, and I striked the Hayate, so he was basically shut off from Ray for the rest of the turn, which really hurt him. So my Harpy matchup, round 3, I'm gonna be real, I'm so salty. So this dude, he got it game 1 because he established the barrier lock, and I just couldn't out it with the hand that I had. Because Marionetter can't beat over very much, especially Link monsters that can't be targeted like the Samorg Link. So I lost game 1. Game 2, I ended up just like going off on him completely. I had like everything, but it was a little bit of a grind fest. But I ended up getting it. He ended up popping Waking the Dragons, and I summoned Ultimate Falcon on him. And he literally just didn't have an out for it, so he had to just scoop and go to game 3. So game 3, so what ended up happening was, by the time game 3 happened, we were winding really close to time. I think there was probably like 9 minutes left in the round. I had a really good opener. Like I had Strike, Judgment, and Multi-Figure. Like I had Ash, like I had everything. It was decent enough, I remember. Towards the end, I'm down on life, but he's way down on cards, and he starts like slow playing to the point where it's like obvious what he's doing. He's trying to determine what he's gonna go into from his extra deck, but it was like obvious what he was just manipulating the clock. And I tried to say something, and I like started, pressuring him to, play faster, because obviously it wasn't like a reasonable, like, oh, I'm gonna think about my play because I want to win. It was like, let me see how much I can rip off the clock. And he was obviously not advancing his game state whatsoever, so he was just clearly slow playing. I said something, I asked him to hurry up. I should have called a judge, but I didn't. But he ended up taking it because the very last turn, I had Marionetter plus Hextia plus Multi-Faker on the field. And all I had to do was go into battle phase, and he would have less life than I did. But literally, the second as the word battle phase, or the second as the phrase battle phase was going from my brain to my mouth, time was called. And I was very not happy. I was mad, understandably. But yeah, always make sure to pressure your opponent if you have an inclination that they're slow playing. Make sure that you call them out on it, because dude was like mad slow playing, and it was very, very clear that I was in a commanding position at that point in the game. So I didn't lose to his deck, I lost to time rules. I know that sounds like kind of egotistical, but I lost to time rules. That's just how the cookie crumbled. But round 4, I played against a good buddy of mine who's actually now been on the channel, my buddy James. James was on Salamangrate, and it was the first time that I had actually played against that deck in a very long time. I ended up winning the die roll, and my hand was pretty good. I kind of destroyed him because I opened Solemn Strike, Imperial Order, Ash, Multi-Faker, and then I believe a Judgment. And he just kind of couldn't play. I had the answer for everything, and by the time he played through his turn, he was just like, all right, I can't do this. And so he scooped, and we went to game 2. So I decided to go second. I sided in Evenlies and Mystic Minds, and I ended up seeing double Mystic Mind. I also sided in D-Shifter. I just saw double Mystic Mind, and I believe I also saw like an Ash or an Imperm. So he did the full combo, the full salad combo, but his hand was kind of awkward, so he couldn't like make the, he had to use Parallel Exceed or something to make the second Sunlight Wolf. He was able to do the full, like he was able to get Rage and Roar, but he really couldn't go like off. I ended up activating the first Mystic Mind, which he roared. But no, because he didn't have the Rage. That's right, he didn't have Rage, he just had Roar. So he roared the first Mystic Mind, and then I just activated the second one. And from that point, it was just like, I was just gonna sit there for a long time until I could break the board. And it was just kind of, for him, because I didn't have anything on board, it was just kind of like, well, I'm just gonna pass every single turn until I draw an out, hopefully, which by the time it got back to my turn, I'd already have all my traps live, and I had spoofing live, so I could shuffle back Mellowseek. I could start attacking directly and sending things with Mellowseek, and then I could personal spoofing back the Mellowseek, so he would still be under Mystic Mind. So I just repeatedly did that until, you know, he was just like, okay, I can't play the game anymore, you got this. So overall, it was a good experience. It was a nice little tournament. This deck did a little bit better than I thought it did, thought it was going to do, but maybe that's because I was playing not like the most meta decks, but I was playing like meta adjacent decks, and Mystic Mind, which I know those aren't like tier 1 or anything. They're competitive decks, but they're not like the cream of the crop. Like, I'm sure if I had played against something like Eldritch, I would have probably got scraped, but it was a good locals nonetheless. But anyway, I hope you guys have enjoyed this profile and tournament report. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Hey guys, it's me, it's that DMD, and you boys out.
You're my heartbeat, my silent drum that's kicking me till I'm numb.